welcome to this, and this will be a Superstars review. Yes, to all the TNA fans that hate that I do Superstar reviews. I gave you a chance. I said, all you gotta do is get 2,000 views. 2,000 views for the Ring of Honor on HTNet show. That's all you had to do. Just 2,000 views. Couldn't do it. Sorry. So I think that pretty much states the fact. And even the people that just might want me to do TNA reviews, they had a chance to do something so that maybe I would do TNA reviews. Didn't happen. I think it shows that people don't really care if I do TNA reviews or not. So, yay, there we go. So let's get on with something that I care about more than TNA, and that is Superstars. Yes, I care more about Superstars than I do TNA. How does that make you feel? So, let's get started. I started the show off with Chris Masters versus Vance Archer coming out with Kurt Hawkins. I'm a big fan, as most people who probably watched my videos for a while know, that I'm a pretty big fan of big man matches. This is pretty much what this was. I think both of these guys could probably, Chris Masters, the fact that Chris Masters is actually decent in the ring now, I think says a lot. The fact that he doesn't seem like he's, lost, and the fact that he can actually do a couple moves now and all this stuff, I think is pretty good, and Vance Archer, I think, eventually will be pretty good. They had a pretty nice little match. Nothing major, nothing, spectacular. It was long, as is the case for most Superstars matches are usually pretty long. And it had its slow points because of that, because they wrestled a big man style match, except it was, we didn't get a lot of, power moves or stuff to make you go wow, like big man, wow moves, anything like that. So that was kind of off. But the match was pretty good. The ending of the match is very good. I would recommend whenever WWE gets around to uploading it here on YouTube, of actually checking it out, because I did think the ending was a little bit creative. Involved Vance Archer going for Chris Masters on the outside and hitting Kurt Hawkins instead, which led to Vance Archer getting beat, but in a pretty interesting way, which is nothing that we hadn't seen before necessarily, but it was pretty interesting. This led to, after the match, Kurt Hawkins turning on Vance Archer for some unknown reason, which I do not understand for the life of me. These guys seem like they'd be much better together than apart, as I can't see them doing anything with these guys apart. And not that they're doing anything with them together, but at least they're giving them something to do on Superstars when they're just a tag team that usually shows up on Superstars. So I'm not exactly sure why they broke these guys up, but they did. The thing is, they actually did a fairly decent job. I mean, the guys did actually a pretty good job of portraying it and doing it, and Hawkins did a good job, and it came off actually pretty well, and it actually would have probably come off very well if anyone gave two damns about these guys, but since no one actually gives a damn about these guys, it was just kind of like, okay, why in God's name did you do this? I'm sure the same person that thought this was a good idea was the same guy that thought the Sheamus, Bryan Danielson deal on Raw was a good idea, so there we go. Then we got some NXT highlights, it was NXT highlights. So we got our first elimination. I think was it Jamie that got eliminated? I don't know, but not that I care. Then we had Jerry Lawler with Scott Stanford. I think he does a lot of the pre-shows for the pay-per-views, but since I don't watch the pre-shows for the pay-per-views, I've never really seen them. So he does the Raw announce team with Jerry Lawler. He wasn't horrible, but he wasn't great either. It wasn't like, oh my God, can I have this guy on Raw? He was just kind of adequate, I would say. But from there, we got Darren Young. Yes, Darren Young from NXT taking on William Regal. I had a decent little TV match. Lots of groundwork. William Regal definitely, really did a good job of making Darren Young looking good, or look good. This went back and forth with some mat wrestling, some clotheslines, your basic kind of match. I didn't go very long. I went about 5 minutes. And then William Regal killed Darren Young with the knee lift, and that was it. So that's pretty much all we got. Then we got some SmackDown on, go watch SmackDown stuff about tomorrow night. I'm not sure why you would do that on this show, but they did do a good job of doing that on Raw, which I think is a little bit more important. Then they talked about the NXT and NXT and John Cena stuff. They really didn't mind. It wasn't like a long, drawn-out promo. It was more of just them doing a recap, not like they had been doing in previous weeks, which that was good. It was just kind of them doing this little recap type thing like they did with NXT, so I didn't have a problem with that. Then we had the main event of the night, which was the Hart Dynasty without Natalya for some weird reason, taking on the Usos. And, people know how I feel about the Usos. Not that I think they're bad in the ring or anything, but I don't understand why they broke up Crime Time, because they thought that they could only have two teams like the Usos. You could have the Usos and Crime Time at the same time. And Crime Time to me was probably one of the more over tag teams WWE had in years, even though they really hadn't used them right. So I've never understood that. But most of the time you get the Hart Dynasty and Usos in there, you do get a fairly decent match. They gave them, I guess, TV time. I guess it was about 15 minutes. I guess. Went out there, had a pretty good little match. They kept talking about the fact that there's dissension within the Hart Dynasty, so there was that. Eventually, the Usos won, which adds more speculation to that. It was a fairly good TV match, I would say, and nothing horrible. Same match we've seen, we saw on pay-per-view not too long ago, so I guess that's a good thing. We actually had a pay-per-view, I guess a match that was on pay-per-view, but, I'm not too big on either of these two teams, because the WWE isn't too big on either of these two teams, because it's evident they don't give two rat's asses about, tag team wrestling, which really sucks. So, it is what it is. But anyways, that was that. I thought it was a fairly good episode. Much better than the last two episodes where we got lots of recap video stuff from Raw. This was much more, matches, which is what I like about Superstars. So, anyways, there we go with that. That